then I don't miss. And the nice ladies just confirmed that. So we don't miss anything that's really important about your thoughts around this. You might not get to share everything that you think, but the thinking will continue after we've had this conversation and this exploration, and that's okay. And you know how to get hold of Martin and I, so hopefully you'll enjoy what we do today. So I'm going to ask, first of all, well, I'm going to share my screen, and then I'm going to ask Martin to say a little bit about why we're doing this, what it's going to be, and who is it for. So let me share my screen. You should recognize this template and this board in front of you, because this is a big picture board, and you'll see on the left hand side that question that you thought about before you joined today, and I'm hoping in a moment, I don't know whether you can see the bar at the top, but we want to build something where people who share a passion for big picture and have a desire to learn can come together and learn how to do it better and share ideas and thinking. But Martin, will you say a little bit of something about, first and foremost, why?
Of course. Thanks, Bev. And it's great to see everyone. It's great turnout. I'm really pleased to see familiar faces, and you've all shown up, so I will too. Start with why. I think that's my idea. I'll start with that, and then we'll go on to what and who. We've been running, as you might know, well, you will know, because I think a lot of you have attended at least one or a series of webinars, so up to number 73 now. We've been running them every 2 weeks, and then it confuses me a bit, because I go into the webinars, we have great conversations for small amounts of time, so we're gaining a very small insight into how we see big picture working in organizations. So we really want to keep that conversation going, and it's quite frustrating for me that we get squeezed in such a short space of time that we don't have the chance to continue. So it often overruns, and then we have little storytelling afterwards, but there's always little topics and connections to make. The more conversation we find we have, the more the more connections we make, and because of that, the more learning we do together, and therefore more wisdom is uncovered. And it's interesting, when I was reflecting, some of you might know I've developed the 3 laws of engagement around engagement, collaboration, and outcomes. The first one around engagement is about uncovering and sharing useful truths. So I think the why for me is very much the more time we can come together in a shared space and have those conversations for longer, so we all make more connections, share more useful truths. That means we're all learning and having a better and fun time in the work that we do, and hopefully we can spread that to the communities and the people and the clients we work with, but also the colleagues we work with. So that's the why. It's about sharing useful truths together and finding a space to do that. So we'll move on to the what. So how we're going to do that, and I mentioned the word space. What we want to do is create a space. You might hear the term today, community space. So it's quite generic terms, but for now, until we know a bit more with your help, that's the term that we're going to use. The outcome of the kind of what is confidently and skillfully deploying big picture as a tool in the work that you do. So I always remember a little story. Actually, someone said to me they wanted to use big picture, but they saw the drummer rather than the drum kit. So they wanted me doing it, and I didn't want to do it because I didn't have time. I had enough clients. So what this is about is creating more drummers, so you yourself and the people that we know can confidently and skillfully deploy big picture as an indispensable resource in the business that you're doing. And we need to create a community space, we think, to do that. Now, what's really important about that space, it's about equality in a level playing field. So what this isn't meant to be in terms of the what is a learning platform where it's top down. It's very much, as Seth, you'll hear me always referring to Seth Godin, one of my most amazing people that I follow and learn from. It's about the peer-to-peer. So it's about a level playing field and learning from the person next to you. And yeah, consuming some content in terms of stimulus, but it's actually very big picture which is bottom up, or like a level playing field. So a place where ideas can be seeded and be developed. And that's really important. Going on to the who would this be for? So I think it's fair to say, back to my frustrations around webinars, we attract both would-be practitioners, but also would-be clients as well. Probably in the past, more practitioners, and there's not been anywhere to put or to offer these people in terms of that. So we're looking for the who, i.e. you're probably going to be, if you consume the community of practice, it's going to be a would-be practitioner. We want to take you to a level of not knowing much about it, but having some curiosity, so to a competency level that's a lot higher. Now, this is where we come together with what we're doing in Your Big Pick. If you know a really good practitioner, who knows, could become an associate and then work with us on the innovative solutions we're bringing to clients. So there's a place for us to come together and develop these ideas, become better practitioners. And if we get down to it, back to the 3 laws of engagement, bringing improved engagement, a greater level of collaboration, and in the end, because of that, really good outcomes to your work. And these are the 3 laws, and this will be embedded into the community of practice. So mostly practitioners. I think over time, there will be elements of client content there as well. But I think initially it's a place to upskill in our knowledge of confidently and skillfully using the tool as a resource within the businesses, in the organizations. It's going to be, it's not meant initially to be the biggest thing. Seth put something out last week about, it's about trust, building trust and attention. And it's, the purpose is, this is my kind of life work. I'm not doing another one of these. So I just haven't got the appetite to do it. And this is what I'm passionate about. So I want to include people like yourself in what is to me a really significant piece of learning for me. And I want to do it with you. And so at the end, we'll be asking about expressions of interest as to, we want to take you with us. We want to include you in its development, and you can be as big a part of that as you wish. And we hope to share with you today things that will want you to be involved more rather than less. So if that's everything, Bev, back to you.
Thank you very much. I want to talk a little bit about what we want the feel of the community to be like. So let's pop those 3 cards up first. Hopefully you should have seen that appear on your screen. So it's a collaborative space. So for me, that means a space where we feel really connected, where we can talk to anyone within the group about any area of expertise or our own experience that may be helpful. And coupled with that, it needs to be a respectful space, because we're all very different. We all come from very different backgrounds. We have very different experiences. That is the absolute strength of any community of practice, is that diversity of the group. So that's going to be really important, but it's going to feel like a space where people can speak their truth and share what matters to them and find answers to solving some of the tricky problems they might have around using Big Picture really successfully. Courageous is one of the characteristics that I think is going to be important, because that's not about doing brave things necessarily, but it is about encouragement. So encouraging people to go to the edge of their thinking, to say the things that are perhaps a little bit controversial that really change the way we all think. There are 3 further characteristics that I think are important: that it is purposeful, and the purpose really is to get us very focused on Big Picture as a tool and the application of it in a range of different settings. I think we need to make it playful, so it needs to be fun and engaging, because I think, albeit we're all adults, grown-ups, there's still an inner child in all of us who wants to play, and so making sure that we have a playful side to it, I think, is going to be really important to its longevity. And then innovative. I think looking around the room at who I can see and what I know of some of you already, there's an awful lot of opportunity for us to innovate in a space together if we have real purpose and real direction together. And so that would be my hope for what happens in a community. Martin's mentioned the different people in terms of the practitioner, the partner and the client. So it's all about building confidence, being able to deliver what we deliver at scale, whoever we are in this community, and having this network of approved practitioners. So I use the word approved carefully, but just so that we've all got a level of confidence and clarity about how we use Big Picture. So it's a space to think, to explore, to learn, to solve problems together, to be inspired. But it has to be something for all of us, because it's going to mean our time and attention. It has to be something that really means something to us. And so the question that Martin and I are going to invite you to think about, and Martin, you're going to put people into trios for this, aren't you?
I certainly am. I'm ready to go.
The question is, what would make you want to be an active participant? So you've already done some thinking before you got here about being part of the social learning community. Whatever experience you have of that already, even as a bystander or a fully immersed participant, you're going to have a view on that, hopefully. But what would make you want to be an active participant, to really play a part? So this is, I guess, part of our research in making sure we understand you as our audience properly, and we figure it out with a range of perspectives in mind, so that whatever we decide to do in the direction we take this in, that we do it with a really diverse set of perspectives in mind, rather than it just being out of the minds of me and Martin and Nick. So hopefully you've got a note of that question. What would make you want to be an active participant? In a moment, Martin is going to press a button and you're going to be beamed out of here and into a breakout room with 2 other random people. Obviously random people that you see on the screen in front of you. And I'd really like you to share the time available as equally as you can. You're not going to have a huge amount of time, but it's amazing how much thinking you can do together when there is a boundary around it. So you're going to have a total of 6 minutes to think about that question. And ideally, if you can share that time between you and say whatever you think. Please don't interrupt each other, so let each other think in the presence of your attention. I think that will be most helpful. So I can see Jonathan's just dropped in, so we'll keep Jonathan with us, Martin.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Yeah.
And then if you can send everybody off, have you set a timer on the room, or will we bring people back forcibly after 6 minutes?
Forcibly after 6 minutes.
All right, you'll be yanked back out of the room. All right, Go and have an amazing conversation with the 2 other people you find yourself with for the next 6 minutes.
Off we go.
Brilliant. Thank you, Martin.
Lovely. Should we let Jonathan in?
I think we ought.
I'm just letting Michael and Kevin know they're in a pair in case they're waiting for
okay.
a third. Hey, Jonathan. Look at him there, looking all handsome and thoughtful.
Do you want to pause the recording?
Ooh.
I don't want to use the word enforced, but encouraged by, depending on where you are and what the community is and who's put the community together and what it serves. I've had different experiences with communities of practice, but the key thing is that you've got a real interest in it, and that it's active, and that you can, engage on your terms as well. I think they're key points to me, because we all have busy lives, we all have our own practice that we do, and that community of practice is about sharing. And if you've got to have an interest in it, and you've got to not necessarily like-minded people, but share that interest. I think that's key for me, because without that, there's not the right kind of energy in it that can help sustain these things, if that makes sense.
It does make sense. You said something that I think is really crucial there, because you said not like-minded, and you're right, we don't need to be like-minded. No. And actually it's better if we're not, because then that's when we get that difference of opinion that really gets us to think.
Of course.
Yeah, so I really like that, and I think that might be important, because people often use that, we want to meet with like-minded people.
No, I don't. Not if they like my mind. That's terrible. That would ruin my day.
But huddling around something that we're interested in or we care about, that feels okay. The same way that we can care about football, but we don't have to all support the same team, or rugby and not support the same team. So I think that I think there's something in what you've said there.
Well, I think that that diversity of thought and take on things is where the rubber hits the road, so to speak. That's where the interesting conversations take place, and out of those interesting conversations could come avenues of research, avenues of collaboration, working together on a project, or where things are born. I think it's those points of friction that create the heat, to turn a phrase.
Nice. I've just thought of something, Jonathan, whilst you're talking. Like, I think you're describing a growth mindset element where there's something that could happen, but you don't quite know. It's about creating that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
that's what I hear when you talk. Whether you that's my perception. That's what I'm hearing.
Well, it is. I mean, if it's not that, what is it? I mean, a community of practice must be based on a growth mindset, because the idea of sharing is, unless there's something to be generated from it.
Nice.
It can seem to be a bit of a pointless activity.
That's good, Jonathan, because I talked to before you joined about sharing useful truths, and I think you didn't hear that intro yet. You've linked your mindset to I've mentioned growth mindset, and that's about sharing. So we're on that level, and maybe that could be in the messaging.
Of course. Well, in that community of practice, for me, it's all about sharing. It's about sharing with your immediate colleagues. It's about sharing in the local community. It's about that transference of, I'll call it energy rather than information or ideas, for starting. I mean, the context, the ideas, they come later, but it's that sharing of energy that turn into those things. And I think if it's just sitting down and having a nice chat about what I've done, it serves no purpose other than just being a stage to, well, I guess share your practice, but not in the same way where the intention of that sharing is to create something bigger than the sum of its parts.
Yeah, that makes sense. Oh, everyone's coming back. Look,
the below seven's back.
Thank you, Jonathan.
Thank you. I'm going to drink out of this bottle.
That's not a spoiler.
Everyone's
look at this. Isn't that wonderful?
I know. Most people are smiling, which is a good sign. We don't want you to smile, James, not with your lack of teeth.
Just for people who joined after he's had a tooth taken out, that's no personal attack on James.
Slightly over familiar there, sorry. Right, okay. So what I think is really lovely now is for us to hear from everybody. Now this could be horrendous unless we do it well. Doing it well means being succinct and to the point. I'm kind of thinking, if you can share your freshest thinking on that question, whatever occurs to you as a result of considering that question that you've been thinking about in your breakout room, or whatever question you ended up thinking about, because I realise people break the rules and do other things. If you can share that thinking in one breath, that would allow us to hear from everyone. And then that will help stimulate Martin and my thinking as well, because Jonathan, you said something when we were in our room together, and for me it's about when minds come together, they are forever changed. So whatever we do and say in front of each other today will have the impact of sparking a different thought. Now that's great between two people, but when it's between 17 people, there's something really magical that we can create together if we do that. So we need to really tune up our attention for this and really listen carefully to what everyone has to say. And this is where the numbers become really important. So 001, where's Bryce? There you are. You are up first, Bryce. So we would love to hear your freshest thinking on that question in a single breath.
Okay, I'm going to do the auctioneer thing. Excitement, common purpose, changing things for the better, honesty, openness, collaboration, structure, body of knowledge, and identity.
Wowzers. Okay, God, that really was one breath. Thank you, June. What about you? What occurs to you?
I think Bryce has given you all of our answers.
Okay, shall I move on to number 3? It's like a game of bingo. I'm looking round and I'm looking, where's number 3 gone? Who've we lost? Oh no, it's you, Alex. There you are. I couldn't see you then. Alex, what's your freshest thinking?
I think Bryce has covered our thinking in our group.
Nothing else occurs to you that you want to say in the space that you have available?
I think there's got to be a bit of coming close to the edge.
Close to the edge. Lovely. Fantastic. Thank you, Alex. Number 4, Wendy.
Me. Yeah, what occurs to me based on the conversation we had was that a lot of this is about a sense of feeling as opposed to something really tangible, which makes it equally difficult and impactful.
Thank you. Number 5. Who's occupying number 5? Chris, what occurs to you?
We sort of summed it up as return on investment, not necessarily financial, but that if we're all sort of putting an equal effort in, that to keep engaged, you need something back, whether that's Wendy and saying about the feeling of where it's going, or something else.
Brilliant. Thank you, Chris. Number 6, that must be... Where's number 6 gone? Russell.
So definitely, I need the feeling. That's definitely got to be there. And that's about that authenticity and genuineness, that we can all turn up in our own way into a community for the time we can dedicate. But I just think that feeling that we are actually giving for authentic reasons.
Thank you. 007, Alan, what do you think?
Come up with another question, and how do you sell this product when Martin's not around? And I think Bill and Sarah will expand on it when you get to them as well, because they've got great thoughts that we discussed around that.
Love a good question. Thank you, Alan. Number 8. I'm scanning. Number 8, Sarah.
Yes, like Alan just said, so we had a lot of questions. And one was how we can sell this to a client, be a client for the future. But apart from that, I feel like this is a great place to find inspiration, to build a community and collaborate and come up with new ideas or solve problems.
Brilliant. Thank you, Sarah. Bill, what about you? What's your freshest thought on the question about being an active participant?
It's about sense of place and being and belonging, and what Alan said, and we concur. If Martin wasn't there, what hat do I put on to understand how we build the community?
Thank you. Michael T.
Yeah, I think we started off with thinking as well that we took it actually to the tool, and would that actually first of all grow us as individual, but also would it help us grow out the activities, the teams, or the business we're in, and actually do we actually use the tool efficient enough, or are we just too linear with the one way we've learned to use it? So we're missing out opportunities. So we're hoping explore opportunities together as well, or learning from what other people are doing with the tool.
Thank you. I'm coming to James.
Yeah, my view is that can we accrue mutual benefit through collaboration of these diverse skills and experience and knowledge we have? If we can, I think we're on to a winner.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. 12. Where's number 12? There you are, Gary. Hello.
Yeah, just to build on Mike and James's point, so it's understanding how the tool fits into discussions and the different scenarios that tool can be used. So whether it's in a team basis, a client basis, or any other scenario you can think of, is better understanding that.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you. I'm coming to Michael M now, please. What's your freshest thinking, Michael?
There we go. It was, branding, marketing. Why is it that you want to have a community of learning or a learning community? What is the overall purpose of it from the organization's perspective, and you need to define that before you can define what an individual would get from it.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's it.
Thank you. And number 14, which is Kevin.
Hi, Bev.
Hey.
Michael and I sort of got stuck quite a bit on this definition of social learning, and what exactly we mean by social learning. First of all, what do we mean by social? Because both of us have got lots of different, I suppose, lots of different experiences of what social actually means. And then the second part was this definition of learning, and what exactly we mean by learning. Is this learning for us? I think somebody else mentioned this. Is this, might have been Gary actually, is this learning for us as an individual? Or is this some learning that helps Martin sell big picture? So for us, the idea, we did get sort of sidetracked as you would expect. But for us, it was very much about this idea of, well, what is social learning, and how can we clearly define that, and also differentiate social learning from different types of learning that might look a bit like social learning, but actually don't fit that definition.
Cool, thank you. Jonathan, you're up.
Okay, well, as I arrived late, apologies to everybody. The conversation that we had, I didn't locate my response in view to Big Pic, which I think is what's happened in responses from other people, if I'm right with that. And the conversation that we had was around this idea of a community of practice, you know, and I think there's a key word there, and that's practice. And I've heard the words like social learning coming in, which I think is an important part of a community of practice. But for me, the key driver of a community of practice is a shared purpose. And I think from that shared purpose comes energy, and within that shared purpose, a multitude of different viewpoints that can cause friction within a community of practice to open up debate, opportunities, test, break, and share ideas as a group of people that may want to grow something to become more significant than the sum of its parts.
Okay, thank you, Jonathan. So I was going to come to Martin, but I can see, Michael, you've got your hand up. Is there something you wanted to add?
No, it's just when Jonathan's explaining his perspective, it's like what you're describing is not so much, well, what I think you're describing is not so much a learning situation, but something that's much more like a users group that a software company might have.
Yeah, if I can respond to that.
Yeah, it's not about.
Oh, right,
please.
Okay. No, so from my point of view, a community of practice is, and like I said, I didn't see the beginning of the conversation. A community of practice is where disparate people will come together to form a community of individuals and individual ideas and viewpoints, and share those amongst each other with a shared purpose to develop new knowledge, new context, new perspectives on things, share ideas, break down ideas, change viewpoints in a community which is safe and, well, not always safe, you know, it can be, you know, edgy or whatever the energy might be, with the idea that there's a growth within that. It's a purposeful growth based on, I use this word friction, where the frictions lie is where the heat is generated, and from that heat things happen. So I think a community like that is useful. Now, when you talk about social learning, I think that's a different thing, because often with social learning, it's hierarchical and driven by systems or, you know, established good practice. So I think it's just I think they're different to one another.
Jonathan, thank you. This is so helpful. Well, I think it is. Let's check with Martin. Martin, what is your freshest thinking having heard?
Written it down.
You've written it down. Tell us what it is, Martin.
I'm going to read it, see if I can capture it. So I think it goes without saying there's a need to have a clarity of definition of some terms. And I totally get that. Sometimes you get away with it, and other times that's definitely required. So that's something I've taken away. I've then made a few statements about what we or you are doing when you go into the community practice. We are certainly practicing, and that means making and doing whilst we're there. It's a thing of action. It's not just static. It's making and doing, practicing. It's also a lot of sharing. So Jonathan, about the sharing, I call it sharing useful truths, but having that environment in which you can do something and then learn from other people's practice as well. So different perspectives. I loved Michael's non-linear, and I've written that down as different angles and perspectives, because I feel I've got handlers to different places it could be useful, but that's often not shared in the type of people don't get where they can use it in different situations. So I think it's about not seeing that as a linear thing, but seeing it from different perspectives. As a consumer, as a partaker of the community practice, you would know why you were there, and you would understand others why too. So I think you would have to be comfortable with you knowing and what others are doing. So building up that trust in the place, whether it is safe or non-safe, as Jonathan was saying, we're comfortable with who else is in there. So if we are trying something out, we feel comfortable about doing that. And then I've got Chris's point, I think, or was it James's point about the clear ROI and the purposefulness and the growth. So having a real edge to understanding why you would spend time in there and what the outcome would be if you did, if you shared something, like how is that going to get taken from other people. So I don't know if that makes sense. I'm certainly going to have to watch it back and make sense, because my brain's doing flips, but that's what I've written down on the other side of the page. Bev?
Yeah, thank you. I think that ROI point really made me think about, I'm in a group on a Monday lunchtime, and I keep going back. I won't schedule a client appointment for 12 till 1 on a Monday, because this community of practice I'm in is so valuable to my thinking. And so whatever we create has to be so valuable that people don't want to put it down, that they prize that time together. So that's really important. I think the other thing is, in terms of growth and impact, I'm thinking about, we kind of have an informal community of practice amongst the partner group, and Bryce, I have to mention you here, because some of the things that Bryce shares, that he curates and shares for us, have had a direct impact on the service that I have given my clients, because it's made me think about something in a different way, and that's hugely valuable. And we'd want to create that amount of value and more, because I think anything that makes us all look good in our professional capacity is going to be super valuable to each of us. And I think we should see ourselves as explorers. So we know we're going to huddle around a thing called big picture, but how do we explore and innovate and push that? Because I think that is, again, for me, is huge, creates huge value. There's a whole bunch of other stuff that you guys have all said that's really, really made me think. And like Martin, I want to go back and listen and think about the questions that it poses, because I love that some more questions came up, because the questions are helpful at directing our thinking. So that is my freshest thinking on the subject.
Can I just say on that, Bev, if people made notes in the room, or they've got their notepad like I have in front of me, if we ask as part of the follow-up, if you reflect and think there's any 3 or 4 bullets that you should add to your voice narrative, then I think that will be valuable, because often there's a lot of value in that just because it didn't come out in the time. So we'll ask for that afterwards.
Yeah. So what I want to do is give everyone an opportunity just to think about, what is the question that is right at the front of your mind right now, having embarked on the conversation that we've begun and had time with each other in a breakout room and listened to each other. What is the one question that needs an answer? We can't answer it now, but what I want to do is do a bit of a chat storm. So I'm thinking that if you can type it into the chat, don't press send until I say, oh damn, Russell's in there pressing send. Look at him, he's keen. But I'll tell you when to send them. We'll have them all at once. But yeah, thank you for that. That was a great example, a demonstration of the kind of question that will serve us well. So a burning question, type it into the chat, and in a moment I'm going to say send, and Martin and I are going to be deluged with your questions.
Can people ask more than one, or are we thinking one each, Bev?
Ask as many as you like. That's fine. There's no limit on the amount of questions, but one at least would be fantastic. And I'll give you a shout to say when to hit send.
Do you think these would be artful questions or
artful?
Artful questions.
I think so.
As opposed to messy ones.
Yeah, graded questions.
Okay, is everybody I can see some of you are typing. You're just pressing send, aren't you? You just decided.
I can't.
Forget waiting for Bev. Hit the send button. Press send. Just press send now.
Send.
Everybody.
Waiting for the instruction.
Do it. Do it. Do it.
Oh.
Excellent stuff. So there's loads of questions coming through, which is fantastic. And
How many minutes have I got to answer these? Is that not what we're doing? I'm looking at the clock.
Okay.
Great.
That's really fantastic. Thank you so much for doing that, because that really helps us to focus our thinking. It's funny when you're trying to build anything, you always think you have a great answer. You know how things should look and you want to create something, but I know from just looking at some of the people in the room who I know very well, Wendy, that we will have a very different experience to each other, need to create a different experience for us both to get value from it, because we have different preferences for how we learn, how we come together, all of that stuff. So it helps massively knowing what it is that you think. So let me move on to the closing stages of our conversation. So Martin, what would you like to say just about what next for people? Because I'm going to share that slide, aren't I? Just bear with me.
Yeah.
So maybe you want to just say something about what is about to appear on the slide in that bottom corner. There it is.
Yes, indeed. So Bev and I have discussed how we might collect expressions of interest to be further involved in a conversation that we'll take forward and you will be a part of. So what we're looking for you to do is in the chat, again, back to the chat. If the questions are still going, we'll find these. From your thoughts about what you've heard, what you've seen, what you know about Bev and myself, the way we've presented it, what you know about the tool, what you understand to be what we want to achieve with the community of practice. Of course, we can give you more information. We're looking for an expression of interest, just in a word. You could even just put the first letter, because cleverly we have used words with different first letters. And please tell us if it is, in your opinion, irresistible, curious, or run away now, stop bothering me and talking to me about this thing. But how are you getting on with it, Mark? And can I be involved now? Because it sounds amazing and I wish I'd been in at the beginning. That's the runaway option. Bev, have I positioned that more or less correctly?
I think you have, yes. So type a letter into the chat that indicates how you're feeling now. Do you want to run away? Are you feeling curious? Is this an irresistible proposition?
We'll still be friends. We'll still have pint and coffee and stuff, and we'll still chat. It's not an end of a relationship, but you know.
Okay, so we're not going to look at the chat for now. We're just going to.
Yeah, I'm not looking at it. I'm going to go and have a coffee and then come back and reflect.
But what would be lovely to know is, in a single word, what made you glad you came today? Start anywhere. So anyone can start, and we'll just carry on counting up and then back round to one from whoever goes first. So what made you glad you came today? In a single word. I'm going to stop sharing the screen so we can see each other's faces. Who would like to go first? What made you glad you came? Wendy.
Diversity.
Oh, thank you. Excellent. Number 5, Chris. What made you glad you came?
Increased knowledge of what you're trying to do.
Fantastic. Thank you, Chris.
Not a single word.
Not a single word, but we'll take it. Number 6, Russell.
Opportunity.
Brilliant. Thank you. Number 7, Alan.
It's nice to see what Martin's up to again.
Fantastic. Sarah, what made you glad you came today?
I would say inspired, because you hear so many different ideas and opinions.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Always
Bill.
leaves me
Oh, sorry.
No, it's fine.
Sorry. Bill, what made you glad you came?
Coddywomple.
Say again.
Coddywomple.
Coddywomple. Okay, I'm glad I asked for clarification on behalf of everyone. Michael Tinsaga.
Yeah, that's be learned. And I was in connection. I've learned what social community is, because I was not 100% sure about that.
James, how about you?
Knowledge.
Thank you. Number 12, Gary.
Connections. New people.
Thank you. Michael Millward. What made you glad you came?
I have no idea yet. It gave me an opportunity to tell the story about Martin Johnson and cups of coffee again. That's always useful. Warn people about him.
Okay.
But I do not know. I am perhaps a little bit. I need to think. I might be a little bit confused about this community of learning and community of practice and user group and what it is. It all sounds fantastic. You know, you have a group of people, they want to learn, but actually the question I've got is, and I think it's a question for Martin and Big Picture, but it's also a question for anyone else who runs a business, including myself. You can have a great idea and it's fantastic, but you always have to ask, what is the amount of effort you've got to put in to create it? What is the amount of effort that's going to be involved in maintaining it? And what value is it really going to add to the people who are paying you money? And regardless of whether anything to do with Big Picture, having this conversation about Big Picture with other people who are interested in Big Picture and supportive of Martin has actually made me aware that I need to ask myself those types of questions as well. And so that I have moved into like maybe a looking at myself phase, if that makes sense, as a result of this conversation. So I am glad. That is why I am glad that I came. I'm sorry it took me a long time to get to it, but my thought processes are going round, if that makes sense.
Perfect. Thank you, Michael.
Right.
Kevin, let me come to you. What made you glad you came?
For me, it was very much checking in with Martin to make sure he was still alive, seeing as I haven't seen him for about 4 years. I think, again, it is just that reconnecting, really, with the group.
Great stuff. Thanks, Kevin. Jonathan?
Viewpoints.
Thank you. Bryce?
Blended learning.
Thank you. Where's number 2? I can't say.
Excuse me.
It's you.
Yeah, I think it was about exploring what this was about and the opportunity of meeting new people and listening to their thoughts of this idea. It's made me think a lot.
Thanks, June.
And on that basis, I'm really sorry, but I have to leave. I do apologise. Bye, folks.
Thank
Hey,
you.
Bye.
Alex, let's hear from you before we go.
I love Martin. I absolutely adore him. He's marvellous. Martin, you're marvellous, mate.
Thank you, Alex.
I like Martin, and I wanted to bring love here to just
Thank you.
And something else. I can't think what it is, but that's it, really. And reconnection, like somebody said. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. Thank you for being here, for sharing your thinking, for sharing your wisdom, for sharing your attention and your time. It matters a lot that you have gathered around Martin and I for this conversation today. And I'm glad we've done it this way. I'm glad we've got so much input from you before we've got too far down the track of designing something whizzy and amazing that nobody wants or needs. Because now we can do something proper.
Doubt that I haven't abused anybody.
No, good. Excellent. You've all been very well behaved. I'm delighted with everyone's behaviour. You may come again, all of you, because of that. So yeah, thank you so much, everyone. Really, really appreciate it. Final word from you, Martin, before we go.
I will reflect, have a cup of coffee. Bev and I will troll over what's been said, and we'll take it all on the chin, and we will respond in the most practical way possible. And we will seek to address every thought that we are given, because it's really important to do that, because you've given up your time for this, and it's been a great turnout, and I'm very happy about that. Thank you. So we will return by processing it. Look after yourselves. Have a good evening. Thanks to Bev for running a great session.
Thank you.
Look after yourselves. If there's any reflections straight after, just ping me. Have a good evening. Take care.
Thanks, everyone.
Okay.
Bye for now.
Bye. Bye. What was that word, Bill?
Great to see. What, coddywomple?
What
It's on,
is it?
it's
The
on-
Oompa Loompa word?
No, it's an old Anglo. It's on my website. It's about going on a journey, and I don't know what the destination is.
Oh, nice.
It's lovely to see you, by the way. I'm so
And to you,
pleased.
Bill, you're looking very well, and we'll catch up soon.
You take care.
Take care.
All the best. Thanks, Beth.
Thanks, Bill. Bye.